Have you ever felt like there's something inside you that insists on sabotaging your dreams, even when you know exactly what to do? Stop and think for a moment. How many times have you promised to change a behavior or achieve a goal, but something invisible and seemingly beyond your control got in the way of your plans? Maybe it's that critical voice in your head that tells you you're not good enough, or that sudden urge to procrastinate at the most important moment, or even that feeling of guilt that appears for no apparent reason. These repetitive patterns, these uncomfortable emotions that insist on visiting us, often have deep roots in parts of ourselves that we prefer to ignore. We call it the shadow. Yes, the shadow exists in all of us. It is made up of everything we repress, deny, or hide from ourselves. And paradoxically, by running away from it, we end up being controlled by it. But what if I told you that these hidden parts, these difficult emotions we try to avoid, could be the key to your emotional freedom? Learning to recognize and integrate your shadow is not just an exercise in self-awareness. It's a powerful path to transforming your weaknesses into personal strengths. Today, we're going to explore this fascinating concept from Jungian psychology and discover how it can help you accept who you really are without fear or judgment. Oh, and before I forget, if you want to continue this journey of self-discovery with me, be sure to subscribe to the channel. That way you won't miss any content that can help you transform your life. Click the button below and join our community, ready to dive deep. Have you ever stopped to think about how many parts of you are hidden, even without you realizing it? This hidden part of who we are is what we call in Jungian psychology the shadow. But what does this really mean? Simply put, the shadow is everything we repress or deny within ourselves. Difficult emotions, unwanted traits, unconscious impulses. It's the parts of who we are that we prefer to ignore because they make us uncomfortable, ashamed, or afraid. It could be that feeling of anger that you try to suppress, that insecurity that keeps coming up, or even a desire that you consider inappropriate. But here's an important truth. Ignoring your shadow doesn't make it go away. In fact, the more we try to hide these parts, the more they manifest themselves in indirect and often destructive ways. For example, someone who avoids conflict may be denying their own anger and end up exploding at unexpected times. An overly controlling person may be repressing their vulnerability and fear of losing control. Someone who constantly criticizes themselves may be projecting a rejected part of themselves onto the outside world. These examples show that the shadow is not a bad thing in itself. It is just a part of who we are. The problem arises when we do not acknowledge its existence and allow it to control our actions, unconsciously. So how can you begin to identify your own shadow? Pay attention to your emotional triggers. When you feel angry with someone, for example, ask yourself, is this person reflecting something I don't want to see in myself? Or when you feel guilt or shame, ask yourself, why am I hiding this from myself? Recognizing your shadow is the first step to accepting who you really are. And this journey can be transformative. By the way, if this concept is helping you see something new about yourself, give the video a like. This helps me know that we are on the right track and motivates me to bring you more content like this. Now that we have a better understanding of what the shadow is, let's explore why integrating it is so important to our emotional freedom. Now that we understand what the shadow is, a crucial question arises. Why is it so important to integrate it? After all, many people spend their entire lives ignoring these hidden parts of themselves. And on the surface, it may seem easier that way. But the truth is that escaping the shadow has a high emotional and psychological cost. And that's exactly what we're going to explore now. The cost of ignoring the shadow. When we repress or deny aspects of who we are, they don't magically disappear. Instead, they manifest themselves in indirect and often harmful ways. These unconscious patterns can express themselves as self-sabotaging behaviors. Have you ever promised yourself to change a habit or achieve a goal, but something inside you seems to sabotage your efforts? This could be your shadow acting up, trying to protect you from something it finds uncomfortable or threatening, feelings of emptiness or disconnection. When we deny parts of ourselves, we create a sense of internal fragmentation. This can result in a deep sense of incompleteness, even when everything seems fine on the outside. Toxic or repetitive relationships. We often project our shadow onto others, attracting people or situations that reflect the aspects we reject in ourselves. This can lead to constant conflict or unsatisfying relationships. These are just a few examples of how the shadow, when unacknowledged, can control our lives invisibly. It acts like an invisible weight, preventing us from moving forward and keeping us stuck in the same painful cycles. The benefits of integration. On the other hand, when we decide to face and integrate our shadow, we begin to reap incredible benefits. Here are some of the most impactful emotional and psychological gains. Self-acceptance. By accepting all parts of yourself, including the ones you consider imperfect, you free yourself from constant judgment. This creates a solid foundation of self-worth because you stop fighting yourself. Emotional freedom. Integrating the shadow means no longer being controlled by repressed emotions. Instead of being dominated by anger, guilt, or shame, you learn to fearlessly observe them and transform them into valuable insights. Transforming weaknesses into strengths. The shadow holds traits and impulses that, when understood and directed, can become powerful sources of energy and creativity. For example, someone who has always been afraid of their own assertiveness can learn to use it in healthy ways to set boundaries. Greater connection with others. When we stop projecting our shadow onto others, we begin to see them more clearly and compassionately. This significantly improves our relationships. A Jungian reflection. As Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." This quote is powerful because it reminds us that the shadow does not have to be our enemy. It can be our ally, as long as we are willing to look at it with courage and curiosity. Integrating the shadow is not a simple process, but it is profoundly liberating. It allows us to take control of our lives, rather than being controlled by unseen forces. And best of all, this work starts with small daily choices, like observing your difficult emotions instead of pushing them away. Speaking of which, in the next chapter, I'll share a practical guide to help you start recognizing and integrating your own shadow. It'll be a clear and accessible step-by-step guide, so you can apply these ideas to your daily life. But before we move on, I want to know, what most caught your attention about the importance of integrating the shadow? Leave a comment so we can exchange thoughts and experiences. Together we can create a community of support and mutual growth. Now we get to the heart of the matter. How can we actually recognize and integrate our shadow? This process may seem daunting at first, but it's incredibly accessible when you break it down into practical steps. I'll walk you through 4 essential steps that you can start implementing today. Step 1. Self-observation. The first step to knowing your shadow. It all starts with conscious observation. 2. Recognize your shadow. You need to pay attention to the signs it leaves in your daily life. These signs can appear as emotional triggers, situations or people that trigger intense reactions, anger, frustration, guilt, or shame. Repetitive behaviors, self-sabotaging patterns that seem beyond your control, such as procrastination or self-criticism. Projections, when you get angry or judge someone for something that, deep down, also exists within you. Here's a simple practice. Start observing your difficult emotions without trying to push them away. For example, if you feel angry, ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? What is this emotion trying to tell me? Or if you find yourself judging someone else, ask yourself, do I have this trait inside me too? This exercise may be uncomfortable at first, but it is crucial to bringing your shadow to the surface. Remember, you don't have to solve everything right away. The first step is just to notice. Step 2. Non-judgmental acceptance. Embracing your repressed parts. Once you begin to identify your shadow, the next step is to accept it. This is perhaps the hardest part, because we often associate our shadow with something bad or wrong. But here's the truth. There is nothing wrong with you. Embracing your shadow means recognizing that all parts of you, even the darkest ones, have something valuable to offer. For example, anger can be a sign that your boundaries are being violated. Insecurity can indicate areas where you want to grow. Vulnerability can be a gateway to deeper connections. Practice embracing your emotions and traits without self-censorship. Repeat phrases like, "It's okay to feel this way. It's part of who I am." Over time, you'll begin to realize that embracing your shadow isn't a weakness, but an act of courage. Step 3. Compassionate self-talk. Talking to your shadow. Now that you've observed and accepted your shadow, it's time to create a compassionate self-talk. Instead of criticizing your emotions or behaviors, try talking to yourself in a kind and curious way. Here are some questions that may help with this process. What is this emotion trying to teach me? What needs of mine are being neglected? How can I use this energy constructively? For example, if you notice your anxiety rising, instead of ignoring it or blaming yourself, ask yourself, what is my anxiety trying to protect me from? Maybe I need to be more prepared or ask for help. This kind of dialogue transforms your relationship with the shadow, transforming it from something threatening to a source of wisdom. Step 4. Conscious action, turning insights into change. The final step is to put into practice the insights you've gained throughout the process. Recognizing and accepting your shadow is powerful, but true transformation happens when you use these learnings to change self-sabotaging behaviors. For example, if you've discovered that your anger comes from a fear of vulnerability, try expressing your feelings more honestly. If you realize that your procrastination is linked to perfectionism, focus on making small progress rather than perfect results. These conscious actions create a virtuous cycle. The more you integrate your shadow, the more emotional freedom you experience. And the more emotional freedom you have, the easier it becomes to continue integrating new layers of your shadow. Before we move on to the next chapter, I'd like to hear from you. What emotion or behavior challenges you the most in your day-to-day life? Is it anger, insecurity, procrastination? Leave a comment. Your reflection may inspire others to look at their own shadows. Together, we can create a safe space to share and grow. In the next chapter, we'll explore a true story of someone who faced their shadow and found emotional freedom. Get ready to be inspired. Now that we understand the practical steps to recognizing and integrating the shadow, I want to share a real-life story that illustrates how transformative this journey can be. This is Anna's story, an inspiring example of how facing the shadow can lead to emotional freedom. Anna was a young professional who was successful in her digital marketing career. On the outside, everything seemed perfect. She had a good job, close friends, and an active social life. But on the inside, Anna was constantly under pressure to be perfect. She was never satisfied with her results, always feeling like she could have done more or better. This relentless pursuit of perfection began to take a toll on her mental health. Anna felt anxious, overwhelmed, and often frustrated with herself. In her own words, "I felt like I was running on a treadmill that never stopped. No matter how hard I tried, it was never enough." Worst of all, Anna couldn't understand why she felt this way. She knew she was competent and capable, but something inside her kept telling her she was inadequate. It was then that Anna decided to seek therapeutic help, and it was there that she began to explore her shadow. In the therapeutic process, Anna realized that her search for perfection was deeply linked to her relationship with failure. Since she was a child, she had learned, consciously or unconsciously, that being loved depended on her performance. If she was not perfect, she would be rejected. This fear of failure, buried in her shadow, was controlling her life. It manifested itself as relentless self-criticism, procrastination out of fear of making mistakes, and even physical and emotional exhaustion. By recognizing this, Anna began to see her shadow not as an enemy, but as a part of herself that needed attention and understanding. She began practicing self-observation, paying attention to when her inner critic would come up. Instead of suppressing these voices, Anna would embrace them, saying, "I know you're trying to protect me, but I don't have to be perfect to be loved." Over time, she began to replace her self-criticism with self-compassion. By integrating her shadow, Anna experienced a profound shift. She realized that she didn't need to constantly prove her worth. It already existed within her, regardless of her results. This gave her the freedom to take risks, learn from her mistakes, and celebrate her achievements without the need for perfection. Today, Anna is a different person. She still has difficult days, but now she knows how to deal with them. Instead of beating herself up, she asks herself, "What can I learn from this?" This new mindset has helped her not only in her career, but also in her personal relationships. She has become more present, compassionate, and authentic. Anna's story shows us that embracing the shadow is not about eliminating our weaknesses, but about accepting them as valuable parts of who we are. When we stop fighting ourselves, we find an inner strength we never imagined possible. And here is the most powerful truth of this journey. Our shadow is not our enemy. It is an ally that invites us to grow, heal, and become more whole. We have reached the most important moment of this journey. What are you going to do from now on? The truth is that recognizing and integrating your shadow is not a process that happens only in theory. It needs to be lived, experienced, and practiced. And I want to invite you to take the first step today. Remember, every difficult emotion, every self-sabotaging behavior, and every emotional trigger you face is an opportunity for growth. By looking at your shadow with courage and compassion, you are saying yes to a more authentic and powerful version of yourself. But here's the good news. You don't have to do it all at once. Start small. Today, notice an emotion that arises, whether it's anger, guilt, or insecurity. Instead of pushing it away, ask yourself, what do you want to teach me? This simple act of curiosity can be the beginning of a profound transformation. To help with this process, here is an immediate practice you can apply today. Choose a recent situation that caused you emotional discomfort, perhaps an argument with someone, or a time when you criticized yourself. Reflect. What does this emotion reveal about me? Is there something I am repressing or denying? Write your thoughts down in a journal, or even write them down on your phone. The act of putting your thoughts on paper helps clear your mind. This simple practice can open doors to surprising insights. And remember, there is no right or wrong in this process. What matters is being willing to look at yourself honestly. Finally, I would like to invite you to be part of this collective journey of self-knowledge. Leave a comment below with the emotion or behavior that challenges you the most. Sharing your experience not only helps you process your reflections, but also inspires others to do the same. And if this video brought any value to you, be sure to subscribe to the channel and activate notifications. This way, you will always be up to date with content that can help you continue to evolve. You've already taken the first step by getting here. Now it's time to move forward. Remember, you don't have to fight yourself anymore. Every part of you has something valuable to offer. I look forward to following your journey.